Hey guys, have you been paying attention to the election? Did you see how in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Houston, there will be Black leaders once Karen Bass, a congresswoman representing the 37th district, is sworn in next month as the first woman and woman of color to be serving as the chief executive in LA?
Yeah, we've been paying attention to the elections in my international relations class. But thinking back to the past, it is so cool to see how Black women paved the way for women today.
Have you seen this photo of a woman? There doesn't seem to be a lot of details other than the photo. Who do you think that this person is?
Yeah, looking at the photo, there does not seem to be many details as to who this might be. This photo had to be taken during the Civil War. I wonder what it might have been like to be a woman of color during the Civil War.
Yeah, I feel like there aren't a lot of details as to what her life was like without really looking at the source to get more information. Anna, did you do this?
No, I didn't, but that's a great idea.
Looking at what was posted in the National Park Service's website, it says that this had to be a photo of a woman named Mary Jane Richardson Jones, and she played a role in the emancipation and was a women's rights suffragist.
Wow, that is so interesting. It also says that the photo and the surrounding information written by Jennifer Harbour, who is a professor of Black Studies and Women's Sexuality and Gender Studies, explains what Mary Richardson Jones's life was like. Richardson Jones was born a free woman to a white mother, which caused her to travel to Illinois to live out her adult life with her husband, John Jones. Mary and her husband were a part of the abolitionist movement and the Underground Railroad, hiding fugitive slaves in their basement and helping them escape to Canada to live a life of freedom.
That's super cool that it mentions that. One would never be able to get that information without looking at the picture. Looking at this photo, do you think she was considered to be a woman who was wealthy?
I would assume so. Thinking about the historical context, it was hard just in general to have your photograph taken. She must have had some historical significance in order to be photographed. What else do you think you can see from this photo?
I think it's really interesting to see how she was dressed. I'm also really drawn to the address written on the bottom of the photo. It looked like I looked it up and the home still exists, but after doing some research, I cannot tell if there's any historical relevance of the address other than it being on the bottom of the photo. This also led me to look up Baldwin and Drake, and these were famous photographers at the time who aimed to photograph influential individuals at the time.
That would make sense. On the National Parks article where we found this photo, it says that Richardson Jones also helped to found the Chicago's Colored Ladies Freedmen's Aid Society and that she wanted to help women gain their rights along with people of color. She was a pioneer of great knowledge and a well-known fighter for equal rights during the 1800s.
That is so powerful to hear about. I feel like in so many instances of history, we never really hear about the contributions women of color had made during the Civil War era. Although I did read an article by Hopkins Levenhau that said that called Black Women in American Culture and History, that during this time period, women were willing to go against their circumstances to make a difference in not only their own lives, but also the lives of their families and future generations. Do you guys have any more insight as to what it would be like to be a woman of color at this time?
Being a woman of color came with a sense of strength. This topic also ties into an article I read. The article, Dare You Meet a Woman by Kelly Carter Jackson, which is about Black women, abolitionism, and protective violence, talked about all the Black women who were willing to fight for their freedom and the freedom of all slaves. Mary Richardson Jones was one of the great female leaders of the peaceful abolitionist movement in the North, but many women in the South used protective violence to gain their freedom. The abolitionist movement helped these women stay out of jail, bringing it full circle within the movement itself.
That also ties in with the article I read. The article, I Must Speak, I Must Think, I Must Act, written by Rebecca Fraser, talks a lot about how women of color were able to speak out during the Civil War by publishing opinion pieces in their newspapers. It even mentions that they laid the groundwork for the development of Black intellectualism, Black feminism, and literary activism during the 19th century.
Wow, I didn't even realize that this is an avenue for activism for women during this time period, but that is so incredibly powerful. How even though they were writing during an extremely difficult time filled with violence and conflict, they persevered.
I agree. I think these women and Mary Richardson Jones had a lot in common. They are all strong women of color who took a stand against the corruptness of the systems in place. Even though that might look different for all of them, they all made their difference in their own ways.
I totally agree with you. Because of the contributions we see from women like Mary Richardson, we are able to see such a positive and reflective change of people in political power within the United States.